September 25th, 2017, 6 o'clock. Joe?
All right, we've got a few things here. The first thing we want to talk about is the police department bids, and as you all know, we did get 4 bids back. The lowest bidder was Dustin Company out of Maryland. It still ended up about $800,000 higher than what we'd expected. And tonight we were wanting to focus on what were the finance options for moving forward on this project. So I'm going to hand it over to BJ, for BJ can discuss with council what our options are and what we're looking at for funding this project and moving forward.
Okay. So the New Market Tax Credit Program, we had done a resolution up to approve $9 million in the New Market Tax Credit Program. The allocation we've been setting aside from the real estate taxes, we have $444,986.57 allocated. My recommendation would be to, and I spoke with Ms. McDonald, Jennifer McDonald, would be to have council approve a new resolution for the New Market Tax Credit Program to up to $11 million to help cover the cost of the new police department, as well as the any kind of contingencies that may come into play. With that, I've provided a breakdown of the differences between the New Market Tax Credit Program and as if we went out and obtained a 20-year bond on the amount. And then also, as council had requested, a possible recommendation for the revenues from real estate taxes that's associated with that, with an increase over the next several years. So that's just kind of a brief overview there. Happy to answer any questions.
After the 7 years, what would be the final tally per year? 1.3 mil?
Yes, sir. That's based on a 20-year bond. It is possible that we could get a 40-year bond. I've been told by VML VACO that 40-year bonds are becoming more and more rare. So I don't know if that'll be an option in 7 years.
So that's 13 cents plus on real estate taxes just to cover the cost.
Yes, sir. And I don't know where the revenues will be. I mean, I'm just speculating at this point in time, and we'll have to review the revenues as we go forward to see what would actually be necessary. Just a brief look at it, it would be half a cent over the next few years on the real estate tax to help cover.
Where do we go from here?
Yeah, we basically, when we got the bids, we had Moseley went through the bids and did them. We also did some value engineering as well. We identified 3 items as possible reduction in the bid, but really all 3 of them, once we got down to it, were mission critical. For an example, one was pulling out the emergency generator, which could save some money, but at the end of the day, this is a critical infrastructure. We just can't do that. We also looked about downgrading the furniture. Right now it is budgeted for mid-grade. We debated on dropping it down to low grade, but this didn't make much sense at the end of the day. And then we looked at the retaining wall. There's a block wall that's supposed to be between the facility and the neighboring unit there, Royal Village area. It was the value of about $300,000. We looked at that as a possible savings as well, but at the end of the day, we're defeating the purpose of that wall, which is to do some noise abatement from an isolation from the citizens. So at the end of the day, we looked at those value engineering ideas, and we still came to the fact that we still needed them. And so at the end of the day, we're still looking at a price of a little over $10,037,000 for this project.
We oversized the building for approximately 40 years.
Right, it's built to 24, yes, sir.
Mr. T-Wall and I have been talking for quite a while about why do we have to fill out everything within the 4 walls? Can we withhold something in the walls? I want them out of that dump they're in right now. But we also got to be cost conscious too.
Right.
Was there any thought given to that?
Well, we looked at different phasing of that. We didn't come to any good conclusion on how to do that with the existing structure, the way it's designed, to phase it any other way. But we did entertain that and trying to do some phase aspect, but we never came to any
I would be
resolution.
very interested in that.
We can go back and re-entertain it, but unless somebody from the PD wants to speak on that more, we did look at that possible phase-out construction, but it just didn't seem to work with what our actual physical design of the structure is
Should we
now.
downgrade the building as a whole unit?
As a whole unit?
I mean, we can't afford $10 million. If you want somebody screaming and hollering, you just get 13 cents. I mean, it's going to go in phases, but you let 13 cents go across the board to the taxpayers. I don't think we're looking out for our constituents when we even consider $10 million building.
Okay.
I think we're dreaming because we want something that's going to look great because of other facilities. But if we can't afford it, looking great, it's like buying a Cadillac over a Ford. If you can't afford it, you don't buy it. And I don't think we can afford $10 million. At least I'm not going to approve $10 million budget.
Okay.
Anyone else?
EJ,
Yes, sir.
so the recommendation's not for 13.
No, it's not for 13, it's to increase
That's if we
by
want to
half.
pay it all in 1 year, right?
No, the 13th, what I was trying to show on there was the current rate, which was 13.5 cents, and then it was increasing by a half a cent for the next few years. I think it was altogether, it was about a 3 or 4 cents total raise. Sorry. It was 3 cents? Okay.
That's not going to get you to that's not going to get you there. Might help you at a half a cent per year, but again, half a cent per year, you only got 3.5 cents now. That's only going to give you about 6. So where's the other 7 coming at the end of the 7 years?
Well, we have, right now, we're allocating, well, no, the 1.3 million was for, hold on a second. I gotta find more. So it's $525,000 starting in 2026 would be with the new market tax credit program.
So the question is, at the end of the day, after the 7 years, tax credit, they cut 33 million. You still got over what we allocated to do the last process. It was 10 million, they cut 33% of that. You still got $7 million that you got to pay back.
Correct.
And the $7 million is going to be about $1.3 million per year.
No, sir, it's $525,000.
After the 7 years?
Yes, after the 7 years.
So we're going 20 years.
Yeah, going out 20 years. Correct.
So that's,
That isn't what we had on those spreadsheets the other week that you sent us.
That was, you were looking at the entire, for the total of the new market tax credit. That's for the total
The
amount for
problem
all
is, though,
projects.
we're not even sure the tax credits will be there in 7 years.
That is correct.
I mean, I don't think, again, I don't like to live on dreams. And with our present federal government, they could pull those tax credits tomorrow.
Yes,
So
sir.
that puts us right back to square one again, at the 10 million plus, whatever the cost comes in.
It is a positive.
And that's where I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it on the dream, I'm looking at it on reality. And I've seen it in 2008 when they come out with the captain's trade. And everybody thought that was the greatest thing in the world, lasted a year. And then it was taken away. And so I wouldn't be a bit surprised if these tax credits, the way the government is today, will be removed in the next several years. Now we're bound for the whole 10 million or whatever.
Jake?
I apologize for being late, but
Quite all right.
Gene, I agree with you, and that was one of my concerns that I expressed. And, we just reviewed that last week, so I'm not sure that DJ even had an opportunity for this, but I asked to have scenarios planned out on how to pay for this. What would it take for us to pay for this in its entirety without the tax credits? because I'm with you, what happens if those disappear? So I'd rather plan for that now, and if we get the tax credits, that's gravy, we don't have to worry about it. But if we don't, we foresaw that that could be a probable outcome. So again, I probably didn't even have a chance for that.
Yes, I did. Without the tax credit, if we were to finance the full, and I just guesstimated it to 11 million, you know, a little high, $750,675 would be our payment for 20 years.
$750 a year.
Yes, sir.
And what's that, 4.5%?
That's at 3.25%. And that was that came from VML Vaco.
And so what's that? Is that equivalent to about a 5 cent?
Yes,
If we had
that
5
is
cents increase to the property tax base, it would cover that, assuming we're doing the whole thing.
That is correct.
And the recommendation right now is to step it up.
If we went with the new market tax credit program, it would be to step it up over the next few years, up 3 cents from where we're at. And that's just a, you know, kind of a ballpark. I don't know what the future holds, but that would get us a lot closer.
I think it should be known that Jake and town manager and some of the police department personnel, along with Brett Herbeck, have been working on this for maybe 2.5 years, Joe. Tearing it apart, putting it back together, trying to figure out the least inexpensive way to go. I joined the crew maybe a year ago, and last week the project was tore apart again with the possibilities of elimination and add on later. But then when you start looking at add on later, cost prohibitive because it'll be twice as much. And you know, I think this council for the last 3 years has done its due diligence. We're just at that threshold that we need to move forward. We just got hit with a $50 million wastewater treatment plant, and we're talking $10 million on the police department, and then we got other $1 million projects that are coming our way. So decisions have to be made, and they need to be made soon. But Jake?
If I could, I'd like to add a couple more things. Joe, by any chance, do you have the comparables that you shared with us related to Shenandoah and surrounding cost per square feet?
I don't have that right off the top here, that article.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but we broke this down to dollars per square feet, and these are not accurate, these are my ballpark memories of it. But let's say ours was 240, 250. Shenandoah had referenced looking at a police facility in the ballpark of about 280, and there's some other surrounding comps between the 280, 300 range for dollars per square foot for buildings. So I don't think that this is far off the mark as far as dollars per square foot for the building, plus we own the land, or we have the land, so we're not even having to incorporate that into the cost. I think it really just comes down to whether or not we have the appetite to pull the trigger on this and build a police station or not. And there's not a lot of nickel and diming that already come out of this. Certainly we can look back to the 2020 plan, but the 2020 plan we've already agreed upon a while ago that it wouldn't make sense to build to that, only to turn around and have to invest millions more to build for the 2040 plan. But frankly, the 2040 plan is not increasing the square footage that much on the pad that we already own. So in my opinion, maximizing the building on the pad that we own is a good move. It's just a matter of whether we want to pay for the building.
And that's what it boils down tonight. Do we want to move forward with the police department or not? Chris, your thought?
I'm for it.
Bill?
I'm for it.
Gene?
No, not at this point. I
Eric?
think we need to look at it a little closer.
I'm for it.
John?
I'm for it.
And I'm absolutely for it.
I'm for building, but I think we can get by cheaper by making some major construction changes.
So I asked questions along those lines too, and certainly we could go back, but in order to gain significant changes, and this is just my opinion, you can chime in, Joe, or anybody else who wants to, but to make significant changes, we would have to go back and start the architectural drawings over again.
I understand. I've been through it many, many times.
Right, so then we'd have already invested the hundreds of thousands into our architectural drawings that we
What
can insert
bothers me
over.
more than anything, we started out as a council, 3 of you weren't here. But the others were, and we said between 5 and 6. Then it went to 7, then it went to 8, now it went to 9.5, now it's 10 point something else. You know, where's the stopping point? When the time we get our change orders and all the change orders that's gonna be involved in this police department, 11 million's not gonna be touching. You're looking at 12, maybe 12.5 million before you come down to the final tally. I've been through too many construction phases, and I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. Unless everything is turnkey and the contractor and the architects and everybody work together, it's gonna be another $1.5 million in change orders.
I feel like that's why we hired the clerk of the works.
Well,
I got that right? Clerk of the works to manage that cap.
Yeah.
So that's a position that puts us in a stronger position to make sure that there's no more creep in that. And I wasn't here in the beginning, but frankly, I'm not surprised where it ended up, just given the fact that look at Kaiser Road Bridge. I mean, that doubled since the first time we talked about that. So I'm not surprised that there is the increase in cost from our guesstimates from the get-go.
I think right now, it was not like the design team came to council and said, give us a number to design to. They said, give us specifications. Is the design going to be to the 2020 need, which keeps us to where we are right now, and then we're going to have to expand immediately. It's not efficient. Or do you want to go out further, and council decided to design for the longer term need, since this is a big investment. We wanted it to make as much fiscal sense as possible. I think council's known that this is probably going to be something that's going to take an increase to cover. And I think that was definitely the sense when we started to get initial estimates back from design. I mean, none of this is a surprise. None of this is shocking. And as a matter of fact, I think we've done a fairly good job trying to keep the costs down. It's simply, we're in a position of need right now. The facility that the force is operating out of simply will not do. And one could argue that it has been that way for many years in our town. So it really comes down to, do we want an actual legit police department building that serves our force, or do we not? And we're gonna have to pay for it if we do. And I've heard almost universally from the people of this town that they want to move forward with that project. So I have no problem moving forward. I know it's probably going to take an increase, but that's the cost of doing this project right.
Bill?
BJ, I didn't hear you mention the $50,000 we're paying annually to the county for the present building they're in. That's a half a cent or a cent that we've been setting aside.
It was included in my
Is that
calculation.
340,
What, I'm sorry?
340K or half?
The total allocation right now from real estate taxes is $242,500. That includes the money that we are setting aside to pay for the rent.
Anyone else? Okay, sounds like council would like to move forward.
Okay, one other thing I wanted to mention that if I hadn't mentioned previous, something Jennifer McDonald was able to do for us. She was able to find a grant for $50,000 for the PD for telecom equipment, computers. She's going to be submitting that on our behalf, and then it'll open up again in the spring. So we have a potential of getting $100,000 to support our IT efforts there. So that there in itself is some savings. So we're continually, as we move forward, looking for other cost options that we have and other grant that are available. So just want to let council know that.
And we have to put this on vote 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
So this is the final vote, though.
Yes, sir. This will wrap it up.
This would be basically, the vote would be approving the contract with Dustin Construction Company to construct the physical building out there on Kendrick Lane.
There should be 2 votes, shouldn't it? Should
Yes.
be one on tax credits. and
Right,
the
right,
other
one-
for
Well,
the
yeah,
actual
correct.
Right.
construction.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Well, I was thinking one night, one vote, yes, sorry, Jim. Thank you. Okay, moving on to final plat subdivision plan application for the extension of Progress Drive and subdivision for the Criminal Justice Academy. Director of Planning and Zoning, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor. It's hard to follow that one, but this one's also police-related, law enforcement. And you may recall the special exception application you reviewed.
One quick
3 months
question.
back.
Planning did approve this Monday, Wednesday.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well,
So we're on sort of on a fast track here. The idea of meeting in the work session this evening was to get it out in front of you in case you have any questions before the regular meeting.
Yes.
So this is just the general layout, and what the EDA is proposing to do is extend Progress Drive. It currently terminates up here, and there's a cul-de-sac, and they would be extending it, teeing it off here for a future road that would go north-south in this orientation. And per the special exception, the EDA will be reserving right-of-way for the town through all of this property, all the way down to the proposed east-west connector route. So the reason it's got to come back before council after the planning commission is because it's a major subdivision. The town code requires that all major subdivisions get approved by town council. That includes any subdivision where there's more than 8 lots, or where there's a new public street or street extension proposed, or where we're extending public water and sewer, or where there's a significant drainage improvements. So this at least meets 2 of those criteria. There are also some significant bioretention facilities around the site. There's a number of documents. You may notice that your agenda packet's pretty thick. A lot of that is this application. And those associated documents include a bond estimate that's been reviewed and approved by Public Works in the amount of $317,200, which is the engineered estimated cost for this and to ensure that it gets completed. There's also the actual performance bond that goes with that, and that's already been submitted, and that's in your packet as well. The one in your packet's not signed, but we do have a signed copy of that. There's also a stormwater maintenance agreement because some of these bioretention facilities would affect the drainage into the public right-of-way area, so EDA is in the process of signing that. And there's the deed restrictions that were required with the special exception are also included, and those have been recorded. That's what town council required to address the sidewalk and streetlight concern on Progress Drive as part of the special exception application. So yeah, the planning commission met last week on the 20th. They approved it with 2 conditions. Really just tidying up on the remaining paperwork, which would be to sign the stormwater maintenance agreement, and for the town attorney and the director of planning to review the deed of dedication that Dan Witten's working on with the county. And the deed of dedication would include the language for the right-of-way reservation, just so we make sure that that's worded appropriately. But other than that, it's pretty much a rubber stamp at this stage in the process. It's been reviewed thoroughly, and it looks like everything's in line for approval.
Jeremy, is there any problems with getting the water and sewer attachments there? Or does the sewer have to be pumped to a facility?
No, they're just going to be extended from Progress Drive.
Okay, I thought that thing went downhill quite drastically. Is there enough depth in that sewer to get into the building?
Well, it's been a while since I've looked at the sewer. I'd have to pull the utility
Well, I'm
plans to
just
get the
curious.
details
I
on
mean,
it.
I just
Well,
want
I
to
had
make
looked at it
sure.
and put it on that site plan.
I just want to make sure that
It's not shown on this
if they can't
particular
get
sheet.
into the sewer, that it's their responsibility to put a pump in and pump it to the next manhole that's comfortable.
It was engineered without the pump station.
Your department ready to turn it loose if we approve it tonight?
Once all the documents are signed off on, yeah. And then it'll be the EDA's responsibility to record that. So as soon as the EDA can get back,
another week.
as soon as the applicant can get back with the signed documents, we will move forward with final approval.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a little confused. What are we actually approving?
You're-
Nuts and bolts, right?
You're approving the subdivision plan and the final plat. And so the final plat is a document that goes and records this in the courthouse and creates the new property lines for the right-of-way and a lot configuration here for the Criminal Justice Academy. The site plan for the Criminal Justice Academy has already been approved by the Planning Commission. So you're really just approving that road extension. And so along with that is the actual plan for the construction of the road, which you see partly before you here. And then also the town code requires the bonding to make sure we're protecting the public interest, and that's in your packet as well.
Jennifer, we ready to move forward?
I think we're ready.
What's the estimated start date for that once everything's approved?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
Shocky's just waiting on you guys to approve.
Was Shocky's the contractor
this.
for it?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, the other urgency and the acceleration of getting here tonight was prices are soaring, and you have a contract with a bid on this project a year ago. They're biting at the bid to get started, or the prices are going to rise dramatically, and that wouldn't leave enough money to do the project. Correct, Jennifer? Jake?
Could we get a price or a quote as they're building that street if the same contractor were to extend the sidewalks and lights? If we get any kind of economies of scale, if we did that in conjunction with them? I mean, I'm not sure if it would save us a lot, but they're already rolling with it, it might.
That's all. Anyone else? As always, thank you for coming in early to do our job, and let's man our chairs.